does your music and art really matter? Does it really make a difference? Big question. So I believe that you and lots of people, I certainly have this, have a part of us that feels that art and music, dance, theater, all of it really does matter. And this is why we do it, right? It's this deep knowing and intuition. Like, oh, this is just something that's really good and life-giving and exciting and fun. And like how could it not be good for you yourself? How could it not be good for the world? And yet, you might play a gig, give a performance, or do a painting or make a poem and get crickets in response. Or just not get the kind of response that you'd like, or maybe you don't even share it. And so how are you going to feel that it really does make a difference if you're not getting any kind of feedback that it does? And it's kind of a tricky thing, right? Because we're not always going to get feedback, and the impact that we have on people might be indirect, and you might not realize the impact that you have, your art has, your performances have on your audiences. They might silently take it home with them. They might have a huge experience and take it home with them and not tell you, or they might not have much of experience, but then like years later, something is touched within them that remind that your art opened up inside of them, right? And I kind of want to be careful here in talking about making a difference, because I don't believe, so I believe that viewing art as a tool in a kind of utilitarian way for making some sort of positive social change, it's tricky, because that is part of what I'm talking about with my Soulforce Arts work. And also, it's often the very act of viewing it as something to be used that takes all the life and fun out of it. So, hi, my name's Joseph Arnold. I'm a violinist, Alexander Technique teacher, and director of the Soulforce Arts Institute. I'm writing a book about all these things, and I'm making videos based on the topics in that book. And today, I'm going to be sharing with you how I believe the arts make a difference. What's the actual mechanism by which what you do as an artist, even in your own private world, your own private studio, or out in the world, up on stage in front of 50,000 people, like what is the actual mechanism by which the gift of what you do impacts others and perhaps even moves us as a society, as a globe, towards something more beautiful, a brighter future. So I'm going to read to you from my book, Soulforce Arts, The Vital Role of Musicians and Other Artists in a World That's Lost Its Mind. This is from chapter 2, on a section called System Updates. And that's the key idea, system updates. Okay, begins with a quote from the physicist Werner Heisenberg. The same organizing forces that have shaped nature in all her forms are also responsible for the structure of our minds. I love that quote. All right, so there are a few paragraphs here, so sit back, relax, and I'll read them out loud to you. Okay, system updates. The answer to these questions above, which this is the trouble of reading in the middle of a chapter, right? So I basically set up the questions already in this video, so that's what I'm kind of referring to here. The answer to these questions can be found in nature, and seeing how the lessons learned from nature connect to the arts. The communication of patterns of birds is a beautiful example. It illustrates how your creative acts not only can influence the world around you, but also play a vital role in its evolution, growth, and healing. It's well known that birds call to one another to attract mates, announce their presence in their territory, warn each other of predators, and it seems to express the sheer joy of being alive. People who grow up close to forests and closely attuned to their environment often speak of a sort of wood wide web, a communication network among birds that spans miles in all directions. This web appears to allow birds and humans in the know to know exactly where the nearest hawk or fox is, when the weather might change, and what's happening with their avian neighbors over the next hill. This communication network exists in a state of dynamic equilibrium in which there is a continuous hum of vocalization even in times of relative calm. The continuity of this hum allows birds to respond quickly and appropriately to changes in the environment so that the community as a whole can survive and thrive. This means that each individual bird has a particular responsibility. When it notices something new in the environment, its most important job at that moment is to broadcast a system update to the wider community so that all members can adapt to the change as appropriate. A system update is the individual act of communication by which the ongoing survival and evolution of a community of individuals takes place. Each system update is a response to the individual's own state of being within its environment and has a potentially transformative effect on all community members. The system in this example is a community of birds, and the update is a particular bird's song that is sung in response to certain changes in the environment. When a hawk flies over, the song will change to help others avoid the predator. When the angle of the sun signals evening feeding time, the song will change again to reflect this need. Both help the community to survive threats and to thrive. Each bird carries its own unique style of system updates in its own uniquely recognizable voice. Each bird also responds to the events that it in particular is most attuned to, which might well be different to those of other birds. Over time, every change in the surrounding forest gets reflected in the content and subtleties of the community's songs. When all the birds are healthy and strong, well attuned to their environments, and in communication with their community members, this system works exceedingly well. But this finely tuned system could easily break down if some or all of the members lost their ability to sing, hear each other, or see things in their environment. If this were to happen, the community of birds would disintegrate, leaving each individual vulnerable to all kinds of danger. Thus, the greatest threat to any community of birds isn't actually a specific danger in their environment. It's a lack of timely, accurate, and appropriate system updates. The impact of these system updates is not limited to the community of birds. They are, after all, deeply interconnected with all other living beings in the forest. It is well known that other animals respond to predator calls from birds, thus making birds the eyes and ears of the whole forest. Directly or indirectly, birdsong plays a vital role in the health of every living being in the forest. So here we come to your role. Artists play a similar role in human society as birds do in a forest. Artists produce system updates in the form of works of art, performances, literature, new ideas, and fresh perspectives. Each creative act is a system update that originates in response to the artist's own state of being within their environment and has a potentially transformative effect on audiences. Artists can be regarded as the eyes and ears of society. Artists who remain alert to changes in their cultural environment can communicate these changes through their works of art. Each artist's system updates are uniquely shaped by their past experiences, present life circumstances, and what they are naturally most attuned to. Sometimes a specific work of art can be considered an artist's system update. For example, Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. At other times, an artist's system update might be a new technique or perspective, like the Cubism developed by Pablo Picasso and others. For performers, their system update might come in their unique interpretation of a specific piece of music or style of dance. Importantly, system updates are a reflection of the artist's life as a whole, including their mental, emotional, and physical state, as well as what's happening in society around them, either directly or indirectly. System updates are a reflection of what's going on inside and around you. If you as an artist or the society that you are a part of is unwell, your system updates will tend to reflect that. If you are concerned with preserving the past or with advancing the cutting edge of culture, your system updates will tend to reflect that. If you are full of aliveness as you sing, dance, or paint, or if you are just going through the motions, your system updates will reflect that also. It all gets transmitted in your system updates. Given this interconnectedness, you would do well to take responsibility for your system updates, especially if you are concerned with addressing societal ills. Since so many of these social and environmental problems are themselves symptoms of the story of separation, which I've talked about in previous videos, then you'll want to make sure that your system updates are not also transmitting more of the separation signal. Instead, you may wish to align your creative process with the story of interbeing to ensure that your system updates transmit a new signal, one that imparts a felt understanding of interbeing. Again, I think I've talked about that in previous videos as well. As you transmit this signal, you'll be supporting others to become attuned to this new understanding, the story of interbeing, just as a bird signals to its community members. The more our society gains this understanding, the more readily the challenges we face will be solved. Thus, your greatest contribution to society and to humanity's relationship with our planet can indeed come through your art, via the same inner workings found in nature. Personally, I find great inspiration in knowing that the value of the arts is not, in fact, that they are uniquely human, but rather that they are a reflection of the inner workings of nature. What this means is that your creative energy, your soul force, is actually that of the universe as a whole, and as such, it has an inherently life-giving quality. Given this perspective, you truly have a vital role as an artist in these times of change, to transmit your unique system updates via your creative potential, to support the move towards the health and thriving of our world. Okay, so what I love about this framing is that it can give you, as an artist, confidence that what you do matters. I've spoken about this in previous videos, but the arts in our society, well, they're regarded as a mere luxury, or a hobby, or entertainment. But that's only because we've lost the thread here. We don't really understand what the arts are, what the arts are really for. And because we've lost that understanding, we as artists and musicians and others often feel that it's a disconnect, right? And that's what I started out talking about. There's this inner knowing that what we do matters, and yet the outer world, so much of what happens in our society, the way that we live our lives as artists, clashes with that. And that can be a real source of cynicism and meaninglessness, emptiness, grief. And so the Soulforce Arts approach is a means of addressing that wound. And it does this by first regaining awareness of what the purpose of the arts is. The purpose of the arts is to bring us in contact with something bigger than ourselves. The arts are a medium for doing that. They play upon the human faculties, the human senses, and elicit a shift in consciousness, an awareness of something bigger, whatever that is for you. It might be nature, it might be consciousness with a capital C, it might be God, the universe, nature, right? I already said that, but life, love, healing, community. The purpose of the arts is to bring us in contact with that. And when you remember that, your art is going to have a whole new significance. You're going to feel so much more connected to something alive, something that matters. And here's the important piece. It's not like you want to make art and in order to create a change out in the world. That's a utilitarian view of art. it's more like the quote from Howard Thurman, who was Martin Luther King's mentor. Don't ask what the world needs. Instead, ask what makes you come alive and go do that. Because what the world needs are people who have come alive. So, in a sense, that's what the Soulforce Art approach is all about. It's a holistic arts pedagogy designed around aliveness. What's going to bring you alive? What's going to bring your art alive? And because that's what the world needs. That's the system update that we need. The problems in our world caused by the story of separation make the world seem as if it's a dead thing, and like atoms are just lifeless particles. Humans are the only beings with intelligence and sentience, and so the Earth is basically just ours to rape and pillage and do what we want with. We are the lords and commanders of the Earth. After all, it doesn't have any sentience. It doesn't have any inherent life within it. But that's only just the story of our culture, our society. It's not really true. I could go into countless examples, but I just want to point out that that's just a story. You don't need to believe it. The world is alive. Your art is alive. And in order to help everybody remember that, the world needs your aliveness coming through your art. We need your system updates of aliveness, not got to get the notes right, or not let me get this technique perfect. Those things are fine, but you've heard people play just trying to get the notes right. You've seen art made just for economic value. It's not really art anymore. It's just a commodity. Those kinds of system updates aren't the kind of system updates that our world really needs. Our world needs a reminder of aliveness. So, okay, I'm going to wrap things up there. Anyway, that's what the Soulforce Arts approach is all about. So, please let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Or you can go to my website, josepharnold.com, and send me a message or sign up for my email list. On the email list, I do one email a month, one newsletter a month with blog posts and videos like these, and updates, sneak peeks of my book, which I hope will come out in the summer of 2023. If you know of a publisher who might be able to help me, or a literary agent, looking for some help there. If you want to study the Soulforce Arts approach, apply it to your music or your dance or your art of any kind, reach out to me. Let's talk about that. That way you can have a felt experience in your own life of this aliveness. I really want that for you. I really want that for all of us. Okay, that's all for now. See you next time.